Hollywood loves its secrets, but this one has a price tag. $100 million. That's the number attached to the scandal everyone tried to bury. It started as a partnership: power, beauty, and billions in box office glory. They built a dream life under the sun, bottled love into wine, and sold perfection to the world. But behind the cameras, behind the chateau gates, something else was brewing. Private emails, secret sales. A deal that shattered trust and rewrote their legacy. Now, lawyers are fighting over who owns the story and who owns the truth. One side claims betrayal, the other claims survival. Both claim innocence. The papers say it's business, but fans call it revenge. A love story worth $100 million turned into a courtroom war no one can escape. And here's the part they don't want you to hear. Because once you see the receipts, you'll realize this isn't just Hollywood drama. It's how power protects itself. So ask yourself, who buried this scandal and why did it almost stay hidden? Before the lawsuits, before the leaks, they were untouchable. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie weren't just a couple, they were a brand. The perfect blend of beauty, art, and influence. Their love story was sold as modern royalty, one part movie romance, one part empire. They had it all. The mansion in Provence, the 6 kids, the philanthropic glow. Every photo screamed harmony. Every interview felt rehearsed but irresistible. Miraval wasn't just a vineyard, it was their symbol. A castle wrapped in golden light, where fairy tales were bottled and sold as luxury wine. The press called them the last great Hollywood couple. Fans called them Brangelina, one name, one kingdom. They wore their love like armor. Every premiere, every pose, a carefully orchestrated performance of devotion. But perfection is fragile, especially when built for cameras. Insiders whispered about creative clashes and quiet resentment. Behind closed doors, business meetings replaced family dinners. 2 visionaries, 2 egos, 1 empire too big to share. The cracks didn't start with a fight, they started with silence. The smiles lasted, but the partnership didn't. And while the world kept believing the fantasy, Hollywood's royal couple was already drafting the paperwork for war. Tell me, did you ever believe their perfection was real, or did it always feel rehearsed? The turning point came in 2021, the sale heard around the world. Angelina Jolie sold her 50% stake in Chateau Miraval, the French estate she once called our forever home. The buyer? Tenute Del Mondo, a subsidiary of the Stoli Group, a global liquor giant. But here's the twist. Brad Pitt says she did it without his consent. According to his filings, they had a mutual agreement: no sale without joint approval. Her move, he claimed, violated that pact. Her side called the agreement non-binding. One transaction, and suddenly, the vineyard became a battlefield. Within weeks, Pitt's lawyers filed suit in Los Angeles. They accused Jolie of acting with malice and bad faith, alleging she sought to inflict harm. The dollar value? Roughly $100 million. The empire built on rosé now reduced to receipts and subpoenas. Media outlets like People, Page 6, and The Independent jumped on it instantly. The tone shifted from romance to retaliation. Then came the demand for 22 private emails messages between Jolie and her advisors that Pitt's team claimed were not privileged. He argued they'd prove she planned the sale behind his back. She said the request was invasive, that he was weaponizing discovery to humiliate her. The filings leaked, the tabloids feasted, and fans took sides. What once symbolized love and partnership had turned into evidence. And every court motion felt like a love letter rewritten in legal code. If you were her, would you have sold it too? Or if you were him, could you ever forgive that kind of betrayal? Here's where the paper trail begins, and it's brutal. Brad's legal team filed a motion stacked with details, names, and dates. They accused Angelina of orchestrating the sale in secret, claiming she funneled information through non-lawyer advisors to dodge his consent clause. The number that haunts every headline: 22 private communications, emails, and texts. Pitt insists prove intent. He called it sabotage disguised as business. His lawyers said she knowingly sought to cause reputational harm. They even attached excerpts from prior agreements, emails that looked less like business memos and more like broken promises. One insider leaked a quote, Brad found out through lawyers. Not through her, through lawyers. That line alone fueled an entire news cycle. People close to Jolie denied everything. They said the sale was transparent, legal, and necessary for her independence. But the filings kept dropping, each one colder than the last. Words like malice, concealment, breach, and fraudulent intent jumped off the page. To fans, it didn't sound like a property dispute anymore, it sounded personal. Pitt's team doubled down in press statements, saying the estate wasn't just a business, it was their children's legacy. They painted Jolie's move as emotional revenge, a way to erase him from their shared empire. Jolie's reps called that narrative fantasy storytelling. Meanwhile, entertainment lawyers quietly admitted something else. Pitt's filings were unusually emotional for a corporate case. Each paragraph read like heartbreak disguised in legal language. And that's why it went viral, because audiences could feel it. By now, fans weren't talking about vineyards or contracts. They were talking about betrayal and whose version of the truth would finally hold up. So, let's be honest. When money meets pride and love turns into litigation, is anyone ever innocent? If Brad's filings were a declaration of war, Angelina's response was the counterattack. Her team called his demands harassment masked as discovery. They said the emails he wanted weren't evidence, they were private strategy discussions protected by privilege. And behind that legal language was a sharper subtext. You've gone too far. Jolie's lawyers insisted she had every right to sell her share. She wasn't bound by emotion. They argued only by the law. Their filings painted Pitt as a controlling ex trying to rewrite their divorce through corporate litigation. They accused him of weaponizing Miraval, of dragging her back into conflict under the excuse of business fairness. One friend close to Jolie told E! News, "She's exhausted. He's relentless. She just wants peace." But Brad's side fired back within hours. They claimed her peace was a cover for concealment. That she'd chosen to involve Stoli, a company Pitt allegedly refused to work with just to make sure he'd lose control. They framed it as revenge in a bottle. Reporters combed through every motion. Tabloids like Page 6 and People published snippets of filings, analyzing tone like dialogue in a breakup text. Headlines screamed, "Jolie refuses to hand over emails and Pitt doubles down." Fans devoured each one. The gossip had transformed into serialized courtroom drama. And somewhere between truth and PR, both sides began to look the same, two Hollywood icons protecting their pride while the world watched. Every no comment sounded like strategy. Every leak felt deliberate. Every headline, another move on the chessboard. It wasn't about the money anymore. It wasn't even about Miraval. It was about control of the narrative, the memory, the myth. Because in Hollywood, image is property too. So tell me who's really winning this war, the one with the winery or the one with the sympathy? When the filings hit the internet, Hollywood didn't just react, it erupted. Within hours, number Team Pitt and number Team Jolie were trending worldwide. TikTok creators posted dramatic readings of court documents, complete with music and slow zooms. Reddit threads turned into legal breakdowns, strangers arguing over who broke which clause like they were defense attorneys. One viral post said, "This isn't love anymore, it's warfare in designer suits." Another wrote, "They're fighting over a castle like it's Game of Thrones." Memes flooded X. A photo of their wedding at Miraval reappeared with the caption, "From vows to verdicts." The internet couldn't look away. YouTube commentary channels dissected every filing, calling it the Rosé War. Journalists from Vanity Fair, People, and The Independent fueled the frenzy, each headline phrased like a plot twist. Even gossip podcasters who'd sworn off Brangelina talk came crawling back for clicks. And while millions debated guilt or innocence, one thing was clear: the audience was addicted. Every update, every leak, every whisper kept people refreshing for more. The comment sections weren't just opinions, they were battlegrounds. Supporters coded court lines like scripture. Skeptics accused both of manipulation. Everyone had a theory, but no one had the truth. The Miraval War wasn't just playing out in court anymore, it had moved to the timeline. Because in 2025, trials don't happen in silence. They happen in real time, under hashtags and headlines. Question is, whose version are you reposting? By the third week, the headlines stopped calling it a lawsuit. They started calling it a collapse. The perfect couple undone by contracts, countersuits, and confession leaks. Every new filing was another dent in the golden armor they'd built for years. Old footage resurfaced everywhere. Brad saying, "We'll never let fame come between us." Angelina laughing softly beside him. Now those clips feel like ghosts from another life. News anchors replayed them with split screens. One side the fairy tale wedding, the other courtroom sketches. It wasn't nostalgia, it was irony. Brand partners quietly pulled away. Miraval's marketing froze. No new campaigns, no romantic vineyard imagery. Perfume ads vanished from digital billboards. You can't sell serenity when your name screams scandal. Luxury press that once called them Hollywood's crown jewel now wrote think pieces titled "When Love Turns Litigious." Even charities distanced themselves. Humanitarian boards that once featured Jolie's work quietly updated their websites. Pitt's winery PR accounts went silent. It wasn't cancellation, it was corrosion. The slow decay of two reputations that once defined glamour itself, and yet neither blinked. No statements of apology, no reconciliatory quotes, just filings, denials, and silence. Fans realized something chilling. They weren't watching a breakup anymore. They were watching a legacy burn. The tabloids stopped asking, "Who's right?" and started asking, "Who's left?" Because when the power couple that defined an era finally self-destructs, there's no going back to fairy tales. The kingdom has no king or queen anymore, just ruins, receipts, and memories trapped in court exhibits. So now the question shifts when the image finally collapses. Can either of them rebuild it? Or is this the story that defines them forever? When the collapse hit full speed, the spin cycle began. Publicists, crisis consultants, and brand strategists flooded in like medics after an explosion. Because in Hollywood, no one admits guilt, they just change the angle. Brad's team went first. An official statement to People claimed, "We only seek transparency." It was short, clean, and strategic. Behind the scenes, sources said he wanted to keep control of the narrative. He wasn't just protecting the winery, he was protecting his legacy. Angelina's camp countered fast. Her rep told E! News he's weaponizing the legal system. Suddenly, she wasn't the seller, she was the survivor. Stories about emotional exhaustion and sleepless nights started appearing in mid-tier outlets, clearly planted. Fans noticed the timing. Each leak followed a bad headline like a PR bandage. Meanwhile, gossip reporters described it perfectly. This isn't a lawsuit, it's a media chess match. Both sides were playing to win the audience, not the judge. Brad's allies emphasized truth. Jolie's allies emphasized trauma. And every quote sounded rehearsed, polished, perfectly weaponized. Even legal analysts joined the circus, appearing on YouTube panels and podcasts for clicks. They weren't analyzing the law anymore, they were analyzing performance. By week's end, public sympathy was split straight down the middle. Both looked strong. Both looked broken. And maybe that's exactly how their PR teams wanted it. Because in a war for reputation, nobody wins clean. They just hope the other side looks worse. Tell me if every statement's a strategy. Do you still believe any of them? Months later, the fire hasn't gone out, it's just quieter, colder. The court filings keep stacking, each one more technical than the last. The media doesn't scream anymore, it hums. But under the surface, this case still bleeds. Brad's team continues pushing for access to those 22 emails, calling them essential evidence. Jolie's team keeps resisting, saying the invasion of privacy is beyond limits. No verdict, no closure. Just two names locked in eternal litigation like ex-lovers haunting the same castle. Industry insiders whisper about fallout. Wine distributors quietly reduce Miraval stock. High-end buyers hesitate not because of the taste, but because of the headlines. Meanwhile, Jolie's foundation struggles to keep her image untangled from the courtroom chaos. Both are still rich, still powerful, but their brands are bruised. The fans? Divided and exhausted. Some plead for peace, do it for the kids. Others want more leaks, more drama, more blood. The internet built them up as fantasy, now it refuses to let them go. Behind the polished statements, there's something human. Two people who once vowed forever now fighting over what forever left behind. Not love, not land, but narrative. Because whoever tells the story wins the war. So what happens next? Maybe a ruling, maybe another leak. But deep down, we all know when pride costs $100 million, no one walks away clean. And this is where the next chapter begins. 22 emails sealed, guarded, and rumored to hold the truth Hollywood doesn't want you to read. Insiders say a judge could rule on them any day now. If even one leaks, it could rewrite everything we think we know about the Miraval war. Because those messages aren't just business chatter, they're confessions, timelines, and motives. The kind of evidence that could flip sympathy, crush credibility, or expose how deep this feud really runs. We've seen the smiles, the tears, and the statements. But the receipts? They're still in the shadows. Next episode, we break down the Miraval emails, who wrote them, what they reveal, and why one sentence could destroy an empire. So don't scroll, because when those emails drop, Hollywood won't be able to bury this one.